righty. So we'll jump right on in. I'm usually like, let's make sure we at least start on time each time. And so thank you once again. We have an amazing speaker with us tonight. We have Nikki Porcher of Buy from a Black Woman. It was only a few weeks ago that we had the founder of Ivy's Tea join us. And when we had that founder join us, she talked about how she got started. And one of the ways in which she got started was simply having a grant. And so many times, and I know we asked the question in the group just a little while ago in terms of how did you get your business started? How did you fund the business? And the majority of people said they funded the business with their own money. I'm not a huge fan of that. It's always great to use someone else's money as much as you can, but also, especially if we're talking about scaling, getting bigger, growing, but most importantly, just simply having that business community. So I want to just kind of read just a little bit about Nikki. And so Nikki is the founder of Buy from a Black Woman. Since 2016, Buy from a Black Woman has empowered, educated, and inspired Black women business owners and the people who support them. Black women are starting businesses at a rate faster than any other demographic. We are amazing. However, we are 5 times smaller than all women-owned businesses. This is where we need the work. And so it's due to lack of support, lack of awareness. And so once again, it's also lack of finances, lack of investors and so forth. But we really want to make sure that we are addressing that proactively, that we're making sure that we're doing everything that we can to be available to receive all the resources that exist out there as well. And so Buy from a Black Woman is a registered tax exempt nonprofit. And so they ensure that Black women have the tools, resources that allow them to be successful through education programs and online directory. Make sure that you look into that and get added to the directory. And so Buy from a Black Woman continues to grow as a trusted resource that helps Black women thrive in business. And that's truly what we're here for, because we want to make sure that there is no resource out there that you aren't aware of, especially when we're talking about, we had a session a few weeks ago about legitimizing your business. So once you get to a point of moving to legitimizing your business, to growing your business, making sure that you have that community. And so Nikki, can you just tell us a little bit about Buy from a Black Woman and the mission and the goals, and how are you helping people?
So thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for having me and sharing the space. I really do appreciate that. So Buy from Black Woman started in 2016 is what I say, but the seed was planted in 2015 when I went to an event. And I went to this event and I was the only Black woman at the event. There were no Black women selling anything. There were no Black women in attendance. And I was just like, this is odd. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, which is like the Mecca, right, of Black business, Black entrepreneurship. And here I was at this event and there were no Black people there. So I was like, I know. At the time, I was going through like this whole spiritual finding, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with my life for fulfillment. And I wanted to use my skills, my talents, and my resources to create something that will empower people who look like me. And I took that event as a sign that I'm supposed to do something for Black women, for Black women entrepreneurs. So that's really how it got started. It started off as a blog where I did this Buy from a Black Woman challenge. Is the first introduction. And I was just sharing things that I bought from Black women business owners. And then the blog turned into a directory, and then the directory turned into a nonprofit, and then the nonprofit turned into a grant. So it was very organic growth. When I first started, I had no idea what I wanted to do or where I saw it going. I just knew I wanted to empower Black women business owners, and I wanted to use my skills and my talents and my background, my network to do that. And I just allowed the universe to just show me the way of how to do it. And I listened to Black women. So those two things were really is the success of Buy from a Black Woman. So with that, like we do education classes, webinars, seminars on how to grow, market, sustain, build your business legally the correct way, so you don't have to go and redo everything that you did do. We have financial resources like the Buy from a Black Woman Business Grant. Right now, we're taking applications for the Black Women Relief Fund. I'm sure we'll get into that later. And then we have some other financial things that are happening that I'm not able to say just yet, but more financial resources that we'll be able to provide to the Black women community. And then the online directory, which is really, our baby, and how this all started, especially in the climate that we're in today. Everybody's looking to buy Black and support Black women business owners. So we have an online directory that lists businesses owned and operated by Black women, where you can discover more than just clothing and body care. We have literally everything. We have people who are engineers. We have this woman who sells bed sheets, and this is not shameless plug, because I'm never ashamed to plug Black women, but I have I bought her bed sheets, and I tell you, those are the best bed sheets. Like, I've laid on.
What's the name? What's the name?
Okay, so Mismatch Fabrics is the name of the company, and the sheets, oh my goodness, like, Black women are amazing, like amazing. So just all that stuff. So that's how Buy from Black Women really came to be, and how it's grown into what you see today.
And that, I mean, I definitely love just the comment that you made about it's not just a single category. And I think sometimes we can get kind of pigeonholed, and it's just, just t-shirts or just what have you. But understanding that there are women in so many different aspects, that regardless if you are renovating your home, if you're looking for a designer, if you're looking for an engineer, a CPA, whatever it is, it's so much more vast than sometimes what we're labeled as. And so just understanding that there's so much in terms of the resources. If you want to support Black women, there are so many Black women out there doing powerful and dynamic things that you can actually tap into.
Yeah. And like, that's usually like the first comment when people go to the directory, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, what is it that Black women don't have their hands in? What are they not doing? Because they did not know there were so many different avenues where you can support a Black woman business owners. And when I say, like, literally, we have like the engineers, we had the designers, we had the professional services, we had the personal services, like we have women's spices. Like, there was just, the thing with Goya and all that stuff happening. So don't worry, Black women got you.
Capitalize on it. Yes.
There are some Black women who are making their own spices where you can buy and shop directly with them. Don't worry about that. So, like, literally, when you're looking to support Black women, I tell so many to, especially our white allies, like, oh my gosh, how can I find a business owned by a Black woman? Literally, just go and Google and type Black woman and then the thing you're trying to buy. And I'm pretty sure first the Buy from Black Women directory is going to come up, but then also other businesses are going to come up. So our SEO game is on point. So,
And tell us what that means.
All right, so search engine optimization is basically like you making sure your website comes up in the hits. Google is the number one search engine. It's Google, YouTube, Facebook. So those are the three major search engines that Americans, the country, use. So you want to make sure that your website is equipped, so when people are looking for things on those platforms, your business comes up with it. So that's incorporating like certain different tags in the back end of your website. If you're building your website yourself, they have it in different pages where you can just go ahead and put most used tags. If you're not sure what those tags are, again, go to Google and search like what your business industry is, and just put your business industry and then put the tags and the most used tags that come in. You can also see like the tags that people are using on social media when they use the hashtags. Those are some of the tags you can incorporate to your website to help build your SEO, so that when you do, when people do search for your business or search for things like your business on those platforms, you'll come up in the search.
And I think that's key, really and truly, if you're looking to grow your network, because in terms of social media, they're making money off of us. They definitely want us to spend money on ads, but if you can organically grow just simply by being the person that comes up if someone says I'm looking for spices, or the person that comes up when they say I'm looking for sheets, or if they're just looking, engineer for residential or whatever it may be, if you can figure that out and understand that piece, opposed to paying so much. And I've definitely seen more and more where people are like, oh, follow me. But in reality, even if you have so many followers, they may not see you. So really kind of understanding that piece of social media, because it allows you to really kind of own who's coming to you and pushing more and more of those people coming to you. So I think that's just a great thing in and of itself. We might need to have a session on that. That's a whole conversation by itself. Now, one thing I have a question about is, so we talked about as a demographic, Black women are growing businesses at a rate higher than any other demographic. But unfortunately, our businesses are much smaller. So when we talk about things like generational wealth or just simply having personal wealth, what do you think is hindering our ability to, one, go from this great idea, this great concept? We've made it something that we can make tangible and actually build some wealth from, but we're really not growing. And so what is that kind of hindrance to get us to that next step?
Not having enough, I call it like white boy money, right? Not having the play money where you can go ahead and make mistakes and make failures. So because you're using your own money or you're borrowing money from your friends or family, or even in some cases you might take a loan, that's not money to actually make a mistake and learn from. So you have to do so much with that, and you're not able to grow because you're like, oh, I have to make this work, and then that's all you have. Another thing I say is like, we do the waterfall effect, because like, let's say for example I sell t-shirts, right? And I decide that I'm going to sell t-shirts, I'm using my own money. Now the t-shirts I sold, now that money, that profit, I had to buy more t-shirts, so there's no room for growth in that too, because I'm automatically using my profit to buy more inventory. So I don't have any play money to go ahead and do with good marketing, or get somebody who's going to help me with my website so I can get that reach, or advertising dollars, or even give some shirts away so it can help spread the awareness of my message, or sponsor events, are right. So like, just not having the money to scale in the beginning hinders our growth for later on.
Now, what do you think in terms of the solution to that? And so we did a poll probably 2 or 3 days ago, and just about everybody said I was using my own money. You mentioned your grant, but in terms of other ways to secure financing, because being a business owner is a risk in and of itself. And so when you are taking the plunge to simply be a business owner, but you can't necessarily take the full risk to grow your business, to try out different things, maybe evolve your product offering and so forth. What are some of the solutions as people are thinking about whether they're in the beginning phases or maybe in that growth phase to get them from just kind of self-serving or self-financing their entire project?
I don't think we utilize the barter system enough, especially as entrepreneurs, especially as Black women, because we believe we can do it all ourselves, and we want to do it all ourselves. And we have this, nobody's going to do it the way I'm going to do it, so I'll just do it myself thing, right? So that's going to hinder your growth and your scalability, and also you as a business owner, because if you're going to become a successful growing business, you need to be able to delegate and contract out. So in the beginning phases, if you start doing that, it'll help you grow easier. So if I'll use a t-shirt example just because it's just, I don't know, it's here. So like, if I am like, hey, I'm going to design t-shirts, right? And this is my thing, this is my bag, I'm a designer, I design t-shirts, I know what they feel like, what the people like, blah, 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 blah. But I suck at social media. Instead of trying to figure out social media, find somebody who is amazing at social media and work with them, because I'm pretty sure the person who's amazing at social media needs t-shirts, or they need something else that you can barter with, and try to utilize that. Not only is that a good way to help you delegate and grow your business and expand your network, it's also a great way for you to think about your future too, because now you're building your team. Now when you grow and you're getting enough income, you can say, hey, well, I have a social media expert on my team and she's been with me since the beginning. The same thing with accounting, the same thing with warehouse, the same thing with stuff. So you need to go ahead and like just start figuring out who you can work with. You don't have to be an expert in everything, but you do need to know the basics. I will say that. Like, you do need to know a little bit of all the stuff. So when somebody messes up, you you know what I mean, you know why they messed it up.
The carpet, yes.
Right? You don't want to go to jail because your accountant was a bad tax. You don't want to do that. Right?
But I think that's a key point that you made in terms of the bartering system, because oftentimes we always want to be paid for our product, but then you want some free something from someone else. And so I think sometimes we may forget that someone on the service industry, if you're calling your attorney and asking them a quick question, that's their product. And so unless you're going to find some way in order to pay them, it is important to understand that not every transaction has to be the exchange of money. There's some value in that too. So I think that's a huge thing. We do have one question that came in. It says, can anyone join the platform or do you have to sell a product? So can they have like a service instead?
Oh, yes, they can have a service. The only people who can join the platform are Black women business owners. So, the director, you can be a supporter, but you can sell a product or a service. So we do have service providers on it because that's an important part of business, especially in our communities. Like, you need service providers. So you can have a service and still be part of the online directory. If you go to the directory, you'll see it's broken down by different industries, and you can go ahead and see the type of people who are already on there. And we have our professional and personal services, and there's people from accountings to home care, birth givers to engineers and all that stuff. So yes.
And then in terms of the community, so if someone's just getting started and they're just like what you said, I've been able to do everything. I'm doing the social media here. I'm doing my taxes on a Saturday. So they're doing everything themselves. As they start to build out their community, what are maybe the top 4 or 5 people that they should be seeking out to say, I need this expert on my team?
You need an account person. You need a money person on your team. I don't care, unless you went to school and training to be an accountant or a CPA, all that jazz. You need a money person first. You need a lawyer. Those are the 2 main people that you need that are going to save your butt. The person over your money and the person over your words and your books and your paperwork. Like, those are 2 ones. If you get nobody else, those 2. You need a social media person. Now, if you are not skilled in this, you want to get somebody. Fortunately, my background, I had that. I still do contract some things out, and I also do have an intern assistant that I pay. And this is like just my little secret. Like, find a high schooler to help you with social media. First of all, they're always on their phone, and they know everything that's happening before you even find out it's happening, and they can stay on top of it. And they're always on their phone. So, so you want somebody to help you with social media, and also you want to get a website designer. Again, if that's not something that you are prominent in, if that's not your skill set, find somebody who it is, because there's a lot of click and pay websites that are very easy for you to build on your own, the template design, all that stuff. But again, in order to properly scale your business, you really get a professional in that field who can go in the back end, make sure that everything is correctly running. And then when you have the opportunity for growth, you don't want anybody to be messed up coming to your website. One of the things that we reject a lot with the online directory is if your website is not a safe and secure website. So because people are going to be coming to your website, sometimes they'll be putting credit card information, and we do not want to be liable because they found your website on our site, that they went and bought something and now their stuff is compromised. So you want to make sure like you have a person like that. I saw a comment say and have a photographer. Now that's not somebody you can have full time. That's somebody you can contract out. So that's why those are not one of the top 4 people, because you can get you a contractor and pay them for that and create evergreen photos for you to continue to use on your social media and have your social media person do stuff like that. But the question was like the top 4 people to have on your team. So the top 4 are those people. If you get nobody else, the first 2 should be a lawyer and an accountant. Those are the first 2 people you should talk to.
And they are on the directory.
Yes. All those people are on the directory, like literally all those people who I named, including photographers, are on the directory. We even have a photography class. We have a young lady, and she teaches how to take photos with your cell phone. So even if you don't have a real DSLR camera or the skilled one. So that's a service we provide, because we know having good pictures is very important to sell your product.
That's definitely key, especially if you're using social media. I mean, nothing like going to social media and you look and you're like, this is poor quality photo.
A good social media expert will tweak that photo because they know what they're doing. And that's like those teenagers, because they know all the filters.
and that's key too, because understanding what people are going to be receptive to. And so you want to be able to measure that as well. I know there is a difference between regular social media, so just my Instagram versus my business Instagram, so you can get those metrics, but you also want to be able to kind of calculate and see, are you doing better? Are you tracking that? And I think sometimes we can lose that. So when we start talking about growth, how do you get to that kind of next level? What are some of the things as people they're in the beginning stages and now they're saying this is definitely taking off? So for your example, the lady with the sheets, so this is really taking off, people really love my product. how do they then use your network to get to their next step? So they're doing well, people are looking for them, so they're not even necessarily needing the optimization as much. People are actually going in and Googling their actual name. Then how do they get to that next step and become that $1 million, $1 billion enterprise?
Well, so Buy from Blackman is really the startup phase. So to become like the $1 billion, $1 million, you're going to need money for that. We don't do like $1 million loans or $1 million startup stuff like that. We help bring awareness to your business and let people know that you exist. I'm gonna hurt Sinead. That's all what she does. Let them know that you exist. So we are really equipped for the startup phase of your business, to bring in the awareness to your business and letting people know who you are. We don't, like, if you're on a $1 million scale, we want you to donate to Buy from Blackboard to help those other ones who are, in the startup phase part of that business. So that's not something I could, advise on. Like, if you're a $1 million business and you're asking me for advice, I'm going like, well, how you get to $1 million business? You come to ask me for advice. I need to know what you know.
No, I think that's a great thing to say, because kind of understanding your niche. And I always say it's great to understand how to get started, and then when you graduate, how to kind of graduate to that next step as well. And so you mentioned having those mentors. In terms of, as you're looking for mentors within the business sector, I know someone posted, I think earlier today, that sometimes what will happen is you'll get a message and they'll say, "Hey, I want to know more about you," and you're like, what would you like to know? And so if you're reaching out to someone and you're just starting out and you see someone who's in that part of their career that you want to be, how are they reaching out to these people and really saying, I need your help, I want some guidance, I want some mentorship, and making it of value, so people aren't just kind of looking at that message and saying delete, block.
Like, that's a two-folded question, right? So one thing you can look at, somebody says, hey, I want to know more about your business. You need to look at your website to see if you are providing enough information for that. So people are not just inboxing you, hey, I want to know more about your business, right? Because everything you need to know is on the website. So did you read? Did you go to the website? And then you ask a follow-up, like, oh, thank you so much for reaching out. You're always polite, always kind. Thank you so much for reaching out. What is it exactly that you would like to know? You can send me an email so we can go ahead and break it down. So you need to look at either, do I have everything on the website for people to know about my business, and are they really just trying to get closer to me or to who I am to steal the things? And that's just like real questions that we have to have, because with the COVID thing and everything, with the corona, like, our time is always being demanded from people because everybody is at home demanding that time, right? So you need to protect yourself so you can have that growth and have that self-security. Everybody does not deserve access directly to you. Like, that's my thing. So, like, when I do sometimes get those inbox, like, oh, I want to know more about your business. Like, oh, well, you can visit buyfromblackman.org to discover and learn more. And just after reaching the website, please direct them to the Viva email, blah, 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 blah. So you need a filtering system when people are coming to you that way. If that makes sense. I know I kind of ran off on a tangent like that, but I feel like that's important to, say.
And I think it's important on both sides. I mean, you talk about simply when people are approaching you, but then also if you're approaching someone else. So if you're trying to get access to someone else, how to really make that productive. So did you take the time to look at the website and say, I noticed you do X, Y, and Z. I'd like information on how to do that too, or I'm in the industry, I'd love to connect with more people. Really, to take it a step further, I said I get messages all the time that just says, hey, I'd like to know more, and I'm like, sure.
Yeah. And
wait.
Yesterday morning, a quick story. I had the time, which is like, because sometimes I just be like, oh, I didn't answer that. But this girl, she was in DMs. She's like, oh my gosh, could you give me a shout out on your page? And that's all it said. And I was like, I was in line somewhere, so I was like, hi, good morning. I have time to talk to you. Right? So it's like, I don't know you. You didn't try to form a relationship, but yet here you are with the axe. Like, a better way to do this would have been, I gave her an example of what she could have done and how, she was saying she was a young business owner. She was just getting started. I was like, as a young business, you don't want your reputation to be that you are a taker, that you're just trying to get people to give you a shout out. Because what is a shout out going to do? Like, just say, hey, look at this business. What you want me to do with the shout out? What am I supposed to do? What's your call of action? Like, having all of that it's important, and relationships are so important as an entrepreneur. Like the black woman business world is this small. Like people who you don't think know you, right? So there's a lot of screenshot conversations that are happening about you, whether you know it or not. So you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and you are practicing good professionalism manners on and off screen, so that you're able to grow, because you don't want to get to a certain point and you piss off the wrong person at the beginning of your journey, and now you can't go any further because they got the whole blockage thing happening with you.
And you hit on, like, people are like, oh, follow me, or give me a shout out, because people are assuming that that's how they're going to grow their business. So they're saying, if you say, hey, I bought this from so and so, then all of a sudden 1,000 people are going to purchase their product. What are some of the actual ways that people are going to be able to grow their following and actually monetize that? Because unfortunately, if I post that I'm, drinking some energy drink, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's going to then say, I need that too. So how to take that, either whether it be press, maybe somebody actually did wear your t-shirt or earrings or what have you, how to then monetize that activity opposed to just simply chasing followers or likes.
You have to do the work. Like I sing that song, so like I sing it in every key that you can imagine. You must do the work. Even if you do get a influencer to post that they're drinking your drink, or wearing your t-shirt or what have you, and you did not do the work to prepare beforehand to actually accept all the traffic that's going to come to you, you're not going to grow your business. You're still going to fail. So if a high-end person is like, oh my gosh, this t-shirt was made from blah, 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 and all those people go to your website and they try to order it and you are not able to produce that, now your reputation is ruined. Now, not only is your reputation ruined, now you ruined your business, because nobody else is going to mess with you, because this person shouted you out, you weren't able to meet the demand, you're done, you're finished. So you have to do the work. You have to set all those foundations before you even reach out to people who you think have an influence to help you grow your business. Because if you're not able to do that, you don't have those places in place, it doesn't even matter who says what about you.
Now, you mentioned influencers, and I know that's, all the rage right now, and everybody either wants to be an influencer or wants to get close to an influencer. And I think sometimes what we see are people reaching out and saying, hey, I am an influencer. Um, Send me X. So, send me the earrings, send me the t-shirt, send me whatever. But then how do you have an agreement in terms of what they promote, what they say about your product, when they say it about your product, how often, and then how do you then select who you should actually engage with? I know there are influencers out there and all they do is kind of try and reach out and getting free items. So to determine like what makes the most sense when you're reaching out, or if they're reaching out to them, how to vet those people.
So that goes back to when you asked me like the top 4 people, your lawyer, right? So having your paperwork in hand, so that when you do reach out to them, you have a contract or agreement, whatever you need to have, some type of legal documentation that says that they're going to do what you are asking them to do. Because there has been a trend where people have been sending influencer things and then getting upset because the influencer doesn't tag them in the post, or does never posts the picture, or what have you. And that's because you just send it to them in good faith that they were going to do something, but there was no legal contract. Like, these influencers get paid to do this stuff, right? So for you to think that they're just going to do it for free because you smiled at them, that's naive, right, of you. Like, you have to have some type of paperwork in hand, especially you want to make sure that they are showing your brand, your business in a good light. So let's say you just mail it to the influencer with no paperwork in hand, and maybe the post office messes up their packages or something. So now they're going to go on Instagram story to say, oh, I got this item from such and such, and it was all jacked up and blah, 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 blah. And now nobody's gonna mess with you, right? Because they said what they wanted to say and you had no paperwork in hand to even do that. So that goes back to making sure you have a lawyer to help you with your paperwork. I would never freely just send somebody something without having some type of terms or agreements. No, when you're expecting promotion. Now, if you're doing it as a gift, or if you just want them to have something with no expectations, then please, by all means, do it. But if you're expecting something from it, remember, this is a business. You started a business, so you need to have business documentations in hand with that as well.
Now, one thing you touched on, and I kind of want to circle back a little bit because you talked about the grant. And I know the deadline is coming up in just a few days. So, in terms of what the grant is, what it looks like, how do you apply? How do people become eligible? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
For the grant or for the Black Women Relief Fund?
Well, tell us about both.
Okay, so the grant is not available, and applications do not open for the Black Women Business Grant until October 1st. So that is what when you guys had Shanae, founders of IBTs on, what she applied for it. And that's just a small grant that we give to a Black woman business owner who is in the startup phase of her business to help her survive, and not survive, but help provide her with what she needs for her business and go to that next phase. The Black Woman Business Grant was just an idea I had when I started Black from a Black woman, and myself, I was looking for a grant to help start my business, and I could not find any, right? And the ones that I did find had all these stipulations of, you know, you must donate blood on the third Thursday of every week with your firstborn in attendance, like stuff like that. This just did not make sense to me. And I'm like, well, I want to do something that's going to be easy peasy for Black women to help them start their business. So the Black Women Business Grant was birthed off that, and we were able to date provide 10 Black women business owners with funding, financial resources to help them with their business. Right now, we're taking applications for the Black Women Relief Fund. And this is for Black women business owners whose businesses have been impacted by COVID, and they'll receive $1,000, right? So applications for that are still open. They close Wednesday, July 15th at midnight. So this is for businesses that have been in operation for 2+ years. So if you just started your business, and I had to stress this during the Q&A, if you just started your business, you cannot tell me COVID impacted your business because you just started. There's no way to prove that, right? Like, it's not possible. You can't say, oh, I started my business in October and COVID really threw me out. Sis, no, it didn't.
But you didn't steal with the good business community, because even if you started in October and you got some financials, there's government aid out there.
But even with that, like, there's not enough traction for you to say if your business is going to be successful or not. So like 6 months is not enough to say if you're going to have a successful business or not. It's not. So like, let's just keep it real, right?
Yeah, that's a good point too. And I know we're kind of moving back. I want to go back because oftentimes people are like, no, this idea is amazing. This is going to be great. It's going to take off. Now, how do you show and quantify that and say, yes, my business is profitable. It is going to be great. How do you present that, whether it be to a bank, whether it be to investors, as you're growing?
Well, you need to have a business plan, right? So you have your financials in order, and you're able to show that you have a good growth and a good sustainability scale that's going to happen with your business. So this is part of doing the work, right? You can't just say, oh, I had this idea, I sold 100 t-shirts on one day, it's popping, I'm gonna be a millionaire. That's not going to work. You have to do the work and show, like, okay, this is where it is. This is my scaling trend. This is my trend from last year. This is where our projected trend is going to be. Like, keep on this traction, blah, 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 blah. So doing the work and making sure that you are doing your homework. Who else is in your industry? What has their success rate been? What does that look like, right? And are you following that plan? Are you diverting from that plan? What makes you stand out to say that this is what's going to happen for me in my business? So again, it goes back to my favorite song, you must do the work.
I think that's huge. And then, and definitely if you have any other questions, drop those in the chat as well. But as you're thinking about some of the biggest mistakes that women business owners are making, what are some of those biggest mistakes that are either hindering them from getting to the next step, or that they're just simply not thinking of? You know, you start with a great idea in your living room, and then what next?
So a lot are not thinking of the legal aspect of that, right? You're setting, like, are you trademarking your business? Are you just running through it? Did you research to see if other businesses have similar names, the name for it? So are you really owning your business, or is it just something that you thought of and now you can't even file for that, right? Having your credit in order. A lot of us do not have, what I'm finding out is we do not have business checking accounts, right? So you're operating these businesses via Cash App and Venmo and PayPal, and you don't have a business account. So making sure you have a business checking account, right? And that can go with your credit. If you have bad credit, some banks do not allow you to have a business checking account. So you need to go ahead and get your personal credit in order so that when you do try to get your business credit, you have that and there's no hiccups for that. So working on your credit, building your credit is a thing. Trusting people who do not know what they're talking about. I don't care what you think. Like, everybody should not be an entrepreneur. I said it. You can quote me on that. Whatever you gotta do. Everybody should not. If you're asking a non-entrepreneur who's never done any business thing, didn't even take business 101 in college when they were bored, and they're just like on LLC Twitter and they're trying to give you advice, that's wrong, right? So asking the wrong people questions that are going to help you grow your business. You need to seek out people who are doing the work, people who have done the work, and get opinions and education and stuff from that. And then also doing the work. Like, I'm sorry, I cannot stress this enough. Like, we live in this popcorn microwave times where people think they can just pop up and be a successful entrepreneur and be a boss brunch babe and all that jazz. And you have to do the work. Even those boss brunch babes who are on the panel talking, they did work before they got there, right? They didn't just say, oh, today I'm a millionaire. No, you have to do the work to get to that point before you even think that you're able to even say that this is who I am.
I think that's huge. I was listening to a podcast actually this morning, and I had a conversation, and they actually said on the podcast, they said everyone should have a business. If you want to be wealthy, you need to have a business. And I'm thinking, that's not easy. I mean, owning a business is not easy. It's definitely work. It's the work that people don't see, because by the time you pay attention to someone, unfortunately, they've already put in the work and they're maybe further along from the part where you see so much work. And so it's definitely key to knowing, one, do you even want to do this? And that might be step one as you're researching. Do you want to sell this product? Do you want to sell the idea of the product to someone else? And that might be key.
I won't even say do you. I would say, why do you? Why do you want to start a business? Why is it that you think this is what you want to do? What is it about this that says this is what I'm going to do? Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. It's going to be some struggling times, especially in the beginning. Because it's new, right? Especially if you're the first entrepreneur in your family, you're going to be lonely. You're going to not be able to trust your family or even count on your family for support, because they're not going to understand what you're doing. I'll even share my mother. When I first started Buy from Black, my mother was my biggest critic. Like, she was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Like, you have a son you need to think about. Really, Nicole? Like, not even really job. Do with your life. Like, how is this going to help you think about your future? I'm grown, living in my own house, paying my own bills. Think about your future, blah 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 blah. Now today, oh, do you know Life for a Black Woman? That's my daughter. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, she's so
But that's key, because your circle might not be the same people who encourage you. And that's why, I mean, the business community is definitely, because there's someone that's kind of in that same world as you that was there. And so, your best friend, your, boyfriend, husband, mom, sister, brother may all be the people that say, why don't you keep that good government job?
You have to know, and that's why I said, why do you want to, right? Because even with all that, I knew what my why is. My mother, who is my mother, who I love and respect and value, told me to stop doing it. And I had to go against that, right? Because I knew my why was bigger than that. And there was times where, she was not supportive. So you have to know that there's going to be people who you think are going to be supportive and not be supportive. Are you still going to do the work? Are you still going to strive through it? Are you still wanting to do this thing that you said you want to do? And that's important to keep forth.
And I know because Buy from a Black Woman has an extensive community. So they have the directory, They also post a number of great educational videos as well. I know there was one not too long ago about trademarking. So if you have a great idea, don't lose it. Don't let someone else be able to kind of take your idea and profit off of it because you didn't do the actual work. You didn't put forth the energy. You didn't want to invest in your business because the attorney said that they were going to cost too much. And so then you lose your $1 million idea because you were kind of holding so much to the chest because you were scared to spend money on an attorney and you have this absolutely amazing idea. And I think we see all the time where all of a sudden someone that we saw came out with something great and then we see kind of the knockoff of it and you say, well, how the heck did they do that? Because that idea wasn't protected. So that community in and of itself, I think if you haven't gone to the website, I'm going to post the link in here as well. So definitely go to the website also. But then also I want you to understand, and I know we talked about this last week, is we have another community. So Eureka, that community provides you mentorship of business owners as well. And so I think one of the big things is just simply understanding that, like Nikki said, your strongest allies in the world may not be an ally as you're starting this business. So I read an article about a company and they started selling popcorn. And they went from selling popcorn in the winter in the Midwest to being a $10 million company. And I'm quite sure somebody was saying, you're not going to be able to raise kids and have a family on popcorn. But all of a sudden their largest customer was Trader Joe's. So if you get a Trader Joe's, can you fulfill that order? And do you have the community? So even popcorn, I mean, somebody out there started making whatever it is, and all of a sudden they had a huge community that said, yes, I want to buy it. Yes, I want to support it. And that might not be your circle today. So you may have to find people that, one, as you're bartering services, like you said, if you're bartering services, that might be your supporter. So they're starting their business too, and you're starting your business and they need what you have and you need what they have. And if that's the case, understand that there is value in building your community, not simply because you need free legal services, but you might need somebody to tell you not to give up. That, yeah, it was a hard month, but don't give up.
Yeah, that the accountability part, and to make sure that you're still going, you're still doing those things. There are other resources that we do have on Black for Black Women. We have co-working groups. So on those days where you feel like, oh, I need to get this job done, but I need somebody to help me, watch me, or we have that. But yeah, the community has really stepped up with. I know you talked about our YouTubes and then some of our webinars. Like, so we have members of the community who actually teach these classes, right? They're experts in their fields, and they volunteer their time and their resources to pour back into the community to teach those. So you kept saying with the trademark, like Nicole, she is a certified trademark IPI copyright attorney. She's a partner at a law firm in New York, and she volunteers for Black Women, because she wants to see Black women business owners do well. And like even our on-team therapist, she's a certified, licensed, practicing therapist, and she does a monthly therapy section. So like the community is really pouring into Black Women to make sure that we have everything that we need, because Black women do have it all. Like whenever you feel like you don't have everything you need, you are more than enough. You have it. If the idea came to you, you're the only person who can make that idea happen, right? So the idea said, hey, Rosalind, hey, Lisa, I want you to birth me. I'm here. Let's make it work. So like, because you're the only person who can actually make that work. So don't ever get up with your dreams or your ideas or think that you're not worthy to achieve those, because you are, because that's why it came to you. So you just have to do the work. Again, my favorite song, to make sure that not only are you fulfilling and doing your idea, but you're protecting it too. Like thoughts plus action plus words equals results. And that's really the formula. You have to act on your thoughts, put your words behind it, do the actions that come with it, and you will see success.
And I know we're kind of against time. Definitely, if you have questions, drop those in the chat. But one thing I want to add, as you're coming up with your community, and I know oftentimes when you're seeking out professionals, you're like, oh my goodness, this is so expensive. There are a number of people that are looking to donate time. They may donate resources. They may have a book that you can purchase that you might be able to get kind of the basics So when you pay for their time, you can really pay for just an hour opposed to 5 hours if you've done the work. And so really to make sure that you're using the network that exists. So if you're going through the directory and saying, is there someone here? Is there a CPA here? Is there an attorney here? Is there someone that specializes in social media? You need to be able to make the most of that time as well. So make sure that you understand exactly what you need. So you're not just showing up and saying, I want, more followers. Well, what are the followers going to do? Are they just like a picture? Do you want them to purchase anything? Because you don't necessarily, people who buy your product might never follow you. They just found you, click yes, and put in their credit card information. So really, when Nikki talked about having that business plan of how are you going to generate, whether it be prospects, whether it be people to buy your service, are they a repeat customer? And then what is it going to take to get there? And I think that's huge, of just kind of understanding exactly what you need. And you might not know all the answers, and that's fine, but having a community of people who've been there before is going to be huge. And then let's see, Nikki, I know we're right against kind of our timeline. Any final remarks, any final thoughts? Definitely, we've dropped the link in there, Buy From a Black Woman. Make sure you click on there. Look through the events, look through the directory, make sure that you join and get the newsletter, all of that.
Just if you do nothing else, make sure you do the work, make sure you research. Like I'd say I'm Inspector Gadget. I need to like go through and see what is what before I commit to anything. Like I'm just like, and as a business owner, that's so important. You have to be able to become like, you need to take a research class so you can be a better researcher and you do the work. Because nothing's gonna come without work. Like so, like literally, that's my song. Like that's the thing. Like do the work and buy from a Black woman. Like those two things. If you remember nothing else from this talk, I know Nikki said I gotta do the work. I need to buy from Black woman.
Capitalize on people who want to. Right now, we are in a great season where there is more opportunity than existed a year or two ago. So capitalize on that as much as possible. There are more resources that exist out there than existed probably 2 years ago. So to put yourself in the position where you can receive all those greatness. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I'm checking on Facebook too. Want to thank you so much for your time today. Make sure that you check out buyfromablackwoman.com or .org. Make sure
own them all. We own them all. Like, all
see, like, that's smart. That's smart. What's good?
When people put .com, it so goes to the website, and like that's one of those things that you just need to like think about when you're going to go buy your website, your URL. Like buy them all so nobody else can buy them from you, right? So we own com, net, org, biz, and
all of them. But just making sure that whatever you're doing, you're planning and thinking, because someone out there probably bought .com and they didn't think about, wait, should I have bought, all these others? And it would have been a small investment with a big return. And so make sure that you're a part of a business community that's going to share those little gems that kind of get you to the next step. But even the small things that kind of help you say, wait, I didn't think about that. I didn't know I needed that. Make sure that you're doing that as well. So thank you once again.
Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
An absolute honor and a pleasure. All right, ladies, until next time.
Bye.
Bye.